Welcome to a 2v2 on Rails and Metal. This game's going to be Stinger and Commander William T. Riker versus Shakal 78 and Madmax, which has been remade and is currently in theaters. Supposedly it's pretty good. We're going to see double Soviets in the southwest, shock rifle, some shock army, and armored assault, Windustry, tank hunter, and also shock rifle versus German mechanized mobile defense spearhead, elite armor, Luftwaffe, and spec ops. So pretty decent mix of meta and non-meta, I would say. I think anything could happen in this game. I don't even know. Conscripts take position in green cover here. Reposition out of the green cover away from those Stern Pioneers, which gets them suppressed. Trying to get this Maxim in range to support, but the Stern Pios being in green cover there are going to continue moving up to flank these conscripts and force them to probably retreat. The vaulting defense getting into close range. Kubelwagen is disengaged though, because it's falling a little bit low under Maxim fire, which means I'm not sure which way this engagement will go. Stern Pios continuing their advance will get probably caught by that Maxim if they advance any further here. Meanwhile, on the left side, conscripts are winning an engagement against Grenz and will force that retreat. MG42 moving up to support now, and 2nd Grenadier Squad is idle in the base, late to that engagement. Maxim has suppressed the Stern Pios here. Will probably force them off the field, which is going to significantly delay repairs on this Kubelwagen as well. And we're going to see an oddly early mortar over here. So this tier 2 opening is pretty hard on team weapons and not very much infantry here in the early game. On the left side, Riker has taken control of the strategic and fuel points. Be able to get everything out there under control, and neither team has contested the munitions yet. Both munitions points uncontested, and even this strategic point currently uncontested. But the Soviets will hold both fuels here in the early game. Maxim will be forced to reposition away from those Volksgrenadiers. Combat engineers might bleed them slightly as they chase that Maxim down. Kubelwagen has not pulled back towards the base. The Stern Pioneers retreating, get back to base with 2 men remaining. Grenade toss on the Maxim right there. And on the mortar. Brings the mortar quite low, but it's waiting a little while to retreat. I don't even know what it's shooting at right now. Not really anything. Madmax is already up to 750 manpower in the bank, who has purchased nothing except for a Kubelwagen and Stern Pios. Oh, and a battle group headquarters here on the road. Interesting placement, and then 300 dropped immediately onto the retreat point unlocked before he's made any units at all. That's going to make things pretty difficult, I think, but alright. Over here on the left side, conscripts engaging against Grenadiers and machine gun here. Molotov is melting the weapon so quick, gets wiped. Grenadiers can't recover, can't win this engagement. This left side battle is going horribly for the Oster. Conscripts positioning themselves in green. Whoa, unless he wipes that though. Bit of a late retreat after that mortar. I'm not sure that squad's gonna get away. These conscripts reposition back slightly, I think. Gonna toss a Molotov to flush those Grenadiers from their green cover position before jumping into this one. More conscripts arrive to the front line to support in this engagement, when that's a 4 conscript into tier 2 opening from Riker. Mortar firing at that squad. Splitting them between these 2 different green cover positions and shuffling from cover position to cover position. Seems to be holding this line easily enough, and the Kubelwagen might just be destroyed. Just driving up to conscripts in green cover. Got killed by small arms fire. Not even sure what he was trying to accomplish right there. Clearly did not work. Oddly early field gun here. Stinger going with a Doe Maxim mortar field gun build. Got field gun on the battlefield at 6 minutes, I guess, to try and counter the Kubel. Kubel's already dead though. because of the engagement here for the left side. Soviets have taken the left munitions and Axis have taken the right munitions here. Stern Pioneers bringing those conscripts down slightly in this engagement. They are under mortar fire. They're going to try and remain in motion. Maxim will defend the fuel point for now. Rifle grenades will force conscripts from a position and cover here, although it looks like combat engineers recovered the MG42, which is going to put Shakal extremely far behind. Having purchased Battle Phase 1 already, he's at a huge disadvantage for manpower right now.
We are losing supplies to the enemy.
Only 4 squads on the field to his opponent's 7. Including a stolen MG42. High explosive barrage from the field gun will make it somewhat relevant here in the early game, but it looks like it was off target. Doesn't get any kills. These forces will shuffle into this green cover, try and get this fuel point captured. And Maxim had to pull back to safety slightly. There is a mortar and a flamethrower on the field to try and force these squads from their green cover here. Combat engineers will try and halt the capture of the fuel point right here. Maxim moves up slightly to do a little bit of extra damage to that squad in green cover. A good mortar hit or infantry support gun hit could turn that engagement in either player's favor. It looks like the infantry support gun will be a little bit more on target. The mortar has yet to actually hit anything really here. Those Stern Pioneers will successfully get the fuel captured. Over here on the left side, Grenadiers were forced to retreat again by the next engagement, which is no surprise considering how ahead Riker is over Shakal. Conscripts force a full retreat from all squads, including the mortar, and should be able to get control of the fuel point back, which I don't think was ever recaptured in favor of the Axis, although the right side fuel point briefly was, giving them a small amount of fuel before being retaken here on the right side. Has been Battle Phase 1 for a while, but his pios have been wiped, so he needs to purchase a new squad of pios before he can even build the Tier 2 structure. Really slowing things down over here. Meanwhile, Battle Group headquarters with the retreat point unlocked is up to 2 Volksgrenadier squads plus Sturms plus the infantry support gun here. Kubelwagen's dead, so both Axis players operating on a pretty small army right now. Not in great shape. Shock troops making their way to the front line. A couple flamethrowers upgraded here by the Soviets. 2 flamethrowers plus shocks make for a much more solid infantry corps, especially operating against an army of this very small size. Infiltration grenades being tossed on that Maxim will clear it. Flamethrowers had to keep moving to avoid exploding right there, but will turn to fire on those Volksgrenadiers and force them to retreat. Shock troops moving up into the engagement as well. Vanilla squad of Volksgrenadiers in the trench. Maxim moving up the right flank. Conscripts are about to eat a grenade right there, but they're so spread out that it does very little damage. Shock troops about to dive the Volksgrenadiers in that trench, and flamethrowers moving up the left side to engage against quite a few squads actually, and on the battle group headquarters they'll probably not be able to make much progress unless maybe the shock troops smoke for them, maybe try and pick up a wipe or two, or just a bunch of manpower bleed. Grenadiers are about to try and cross the road. That's not a very good idea. Runs those Grens right into medium range on the flamethrowers, but fortunately one squad gets suppressed and the other one was already low health, so they'll both be forced to retreat right there. Conscripts will also be forced away. Shock troops are not present for the engagement. On the left side, stolen MG42, suppressing those Grenadiers will force that retreat. And here on the munitions point, wow, there's already a T-70. That's so quick. Already a T-70 on the field because the Allies have held both fuel points all game. Maxim plus MG42 defending over here is gonna have no problem shutting down all pushes on this side of the map, especially with 2 squads of Grenadiers, a third almost of Shakal's army being dedicated to the right side, and there's no way the left is ever going to fall. 1 squad of Stern Pyros will manage to sneak behind enemy lines and get this munitions point captured though. T-70 plus conscripts firing at the mortar here from range. Whoa, what happened right there? Those squads forced to retreat. Took a huge hit from the field gun, I think. Are gonna have to get off the field, off the battlefield. Tier 4 going up in a slightly dangerous location, but since the shock troops are too wounded to be engaging right now, it's probably gonna complete before any Soviet squads spot it. Pretty good timing on that, I think. You are gonna put it in a really aggressive location like that. It's important to make sure there's nothing around. It can be very difficult to get a truck up in a location like this at this stage of the game, especially when already behind. We probably got a little bit lucky there. Half track on the field, and industry has been picked. So we're probably going to see quite a few light vehicles before transitioning into massive T-34 spam, or maybe even Tier 4. Doesn't have very much manpower flow right now. He actually lost a little bit of stuff, I think. Mine right there, for one thing. He lost one of his machine guns to that infantry support gun shot, and I'm pretty sure he went with a 4 conscript opening and is now down to 3. Not sure how his conscripts got wiped, but that means he's a little low on manpower, but nothing too serious. Tier 4 did complete over here on the right side. Infantry support guns set up behind. Mortar bombarding those Volksgrenadiers in their victory point position. Demo charge going down on the center VP from these 2 flamethrowers, trying to get the clock ticking against the axis a little more urgently. Madmax is apparently going to spend 800 of his 1200 manpower float on 2 squads of Obersoldaten. He's lost a full squad of Volksgrenadiers as well, I think, at least one. Two of 3, so he's only got 3 squads right now. Not off to an incredibly promising start, and if all that field gun probably has to do is just move up and start shooting at this thing. Maybe that's not true. Pretty decent amount of support from his teammate to provide a bit of a meat shield here. But a coordinated push by both Soviet players would probably be impossible to stop because of how many losses both Axis players have taken in this game. Alright, so much for that conscript squad. Bit of a late retreat, gets laser beamed to death by LMGs right there. Mortar and infantry support gun fire in this general area might be a little bit dangerous. Maxim takes a bit of a hit right there. Probably just gonna get brute forced to death by LMGs. Gonna try to retreat, not sure he's gonna get away. Conscript squad on the wrong side of cover here as well. T-34 on the field, there's the repair station. Field guns available for high explosive barrage. Conscripts never move to the right side of that cover position, so Mortar's got to retreat. Maxim suppresses 1 squad. There's the high explosive barrage. First shot hit the cover position. 2 shots in a row hit the cover position, unless it's aimed right there. Maybe it was aimed right there. Doing pretty good damage. Grenadiers just tanking it. That's why we'll be forced to retreat right there. Over here, Soviet squads move up to take control of the cutoff. The quad plus T-34 moving to engage against a freshly upgraded squad of Obersoldaten. Bring them quite low quite quickly. Already forced off the field, and they accomplish basically nothing.
This now belongs to the people and workers of the Soviet Union. Prepare for action.
Infantry corps for Madmax is up to a much more respectable size now, up from 3 squads to 6. Has 2 Volksgrenadiers, his Sturmpiles, and both of his Obersoldaten plus a Raketenwerfer, so light anti-tank to help against the Soviet light vehicle spam here. Trying to at least push it back. Volksgrenadiers take heavy damage, toss 1 grenade. Panzerstrikes move up to fire on these vehicles, but they're not really having much success. Half-track falls a little bit low, might want to kite away from that Raketenwerfer. Dangerously close to being destroyed, pulls it to safety. A T-gun shot connects with the T-34 right there, but there is a repair station right here, so this will all get repaired. Not a particularly decisive engagement for either side. That AT gun is way overextending right here, right into a flamethrower. Meanwhile, the fight for the right side fuel point continues to rage. I don't think these conscripts are going to do too well against double overs. There's the retreat. We'll maintain control. Ooh. Whoa. Wow, thank you 40 Cakes so much for that incredibly generous donation. I will fast lane Rails and Blobs. Thank you. Thank you for that donation. That's very generous. And thank you also for moderating my stream. Thank you for all of your incredible support.
We are losing territory.
I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, Obersoldaten pushing away stuff over here in the southeast. Infantry support gun pushes those conscripts slightly out of cover right there. Obersoldaten will probably only be able to stick around for so long though under maximum fire and mortar fire. But it looks like they will at least briefly create space for the Focus Grenadiers to take control of the right side fuel point. Su-85 making their way up the center. Kettenwerfer is going to pull to safety a little bit. High explosive barrage on the Ogres right there. They'll finally be forced to retreat. The squad still not upgraded with an LMG. Probably going to be getting that soon. Looks like the Axis are rotating everything center slash right, trying to fend against it's mostly Soviet tier 2, trying to get slightly more firm control on the right side fuel point here. Victory points are ticking against the Allies briefly. How long that's going to continue for. 3 squads idle in this right side base though. He needs to get those back onto the battlefield or he's not going to be able to win engagements for this front. The Oster needs to stop blobbing his infantry so tightly. Even a high explosive barrage from this field gun is really effective. Like surprisingly so. It's got 14 kills apparently because of this behavior. Over Commando West, Blob is making an attempt for the left side, but under flamethrower, quad mount machine gun, T-34, and Maxim fire, that force isn't going to accomplish anything. This Maxim does get cleared by the advancing Blob right here, and Su-85 isn't going to be able to provide much support. Maxim firing on these 3 squads from its position over here in the shrubs is keeping them suppressed at least, trying to give that field gun room to escape, but I don't think it's going to unless they disengage, which they have. Panzer Grenadiers turn to fire on the Maxim instead. Finally, this Blob is moving back out of the base to actually help in these engagements, keep those Oster squads at bay. 2 squads vault this cover, move to take control of the center VP, but most of the industry players' forces are idle here on the left side fuel point, depriving Stinger of some much needed support over here as Su-85 just went down, unfortunately, and I'm actually sort of surprised he went with Su-85 rather than Katyusha. I guess he thought that he had enough of an advantage that he'd be able to push up and start putting pressure on the tier 4 structure right there, but he kind of left all of his infantry idle for too long and didn't give that Su-85 the support it needed. And Obersoldaten moving up to support in this engagement, laser beam a lot of stuff to death, focus fire that flamethrower down and it gets wiped, Maxim gets wiped, Stinger has just now been reduced to almost nothing remaining. As far as team weapons, both of his Maxims cleared, shock troops in pretty serious danger with Obers in the retreat path, Mortar making a late retreat. He's just letting everything he has get killed by Obers with LMGs. Oh my god, so much damage. 4 squads remain, and that is it. What is he? Oh, please. Well, there's an IS-2 on the field, apparently. Engagements have been that lethal, and Riker will field a KV-8. Try and force some squads off the battlefield over here on the right side. IS-2 plus KV-8 being fielded simultaneously. Should provide a pretty decent amount of shock value against these Axis forces, which are going to get caught with not that much anti-tank here. That AT gun's pretty unsupported. It's the only AT gun on the field. There's also 1 Raketenwerfer, and then that's pretty much it. Oh, and a Panzerschreck squad here in the Oster base, which leaves this right side extremely exposed. KV-8 is moving up to try and circle straight for that Raketenwerfer to death, while the IS-2 also fires on the Raketenwerfer's position. It's trying to reposition out of the house, but I don't think there's any way to save that thing. It's trying to retreat. will somehow around the corner. What was that? A command tank? No, a Puma. Oh, okay, Puma. So mobile defense chosen. He will field both call-ins immediately to try and save the day. Puma will snipe the low health KVA right there and try and push things back, but I don't think a Puma is going to be able to win against an IS-2. With Raketenwerfer support, Tier 4 structure support, anything is possible, I guess. IS-2 pulling back away from this engagement, and incendiary artillery will prevent any AT weapons from moving up to chase. The IS-2 is going to try and stick around a little longer to maybe destroy the Tier 4 structure, and the T-34 from the left side is also moving to support in this endeavor. IS-2 is falling a little too low, though, and is going to have to pull back to safety. Meanwhile, an Oster blob is making its way down the middle with some Panzerschreck sprinkled into the mix, which may prove dangerous to any squads or vehicles that it may encounter. That Puma is actually giving chase to that IS-2, which is getting a little lazy. Oh! Getting a little lazy about backpedaling away. Kind of stopped there for a second, and the Puma command tank hunted it and decrewed it, but are not going to destroy it? Seriously? Apparently he feels that he needs them too badly up here in the engagement against the industry player. Wants to try and take out the T-34 here, I guess. Can't believe he just left that IS-2 to be freely recovered by the Soviet player, though. That is an IS-2 that he could have destroyed, and he's going to let his opponent have it back for free. That's crazy. Command tank goes down under way too much firepower over here from a stolen Raketenwerfer and T-34. The Puma has a destroyed engine, and the T-70 will pick it up, and I feel like a great engagement by Shakal just went completely wrong, because he just messed up. He was about to pick up an IS-2 in exchange for nothing, and instead did not pick up anything and lost both of his vehicles, putting him at a significant fuel disadvantage, and all of his infantry are also getting gunned down by T-70s and other various scary things in this engagement. So, these four squads reinforcing and healing here on the battle group headquarters. Conscripts moving to take control back of the fuel point. The Soviets got a bit of a lucky break with the IS-2, so they are still in a pretty solid lead here. Another Puma has been fielded, and a KV... Wait, what happened over here on the left side? Did I miss some huge engagement? Everything's dead! The T-70 and T-34 and half-track are all dead. I like briefly read chat. I didn't think anything could possibly happen. Apparently I was wrong. Wow. That's not good. KV-2 then is the only thing that only vehicle Riker has left in addition to his 3 infantry squads over here. KV-2's about to get caught. By quite a few Panzerschrecks. Puma moving up to try and circle strafe it a little bit if possible. Might be going in a little bit overly aggressively though. KV-2's already been reduced to half and is now reversing towards a Panzerschreck blob. KV-8 is here on the KV-2's flank though to protect and start burning those infantry formations down. Try and force retreats. KV-2 is going to take another shot at that extremely wounded Panzer Grenadier squad, but it's off target. Conscripts are probably going to snipe that to death anyway. KV-8 engaging against these Volksgrenadiers right here. IS-2 in the north will hunt and destroy the Puma successfully. 2 squads moving to try and trade, but that IS-2 will probably have no real problem against just 2 squads of Oster infantry right there. And a couple of Oberkommando West squads are making their way down this area to try and maintain control of the right side of fuel and victory point. IS-2 has won its engagement against the various squads in this area. And KV-2 is awaiting some repairs here by the repair station. We'll be back up to full soon. There is a Command Panther on the field. Command Panther will be a much needed weapon against the KV-8 right there. Should actually be able to hunt and kill that. It has, no, well, it has a little support. There's a Panzer Shrek on that shock troop squad. I think it only needs one more shot, though. Conscripts seriously haven't researched AT grenades yet, and it's circle strafing the Panther. Run! Okay. KV-8 goes down for free. Panther's gonna pull back to safety, upgrading to the top mount machine gun now. Meanwhile, the IS-2 is rotating towards the center. That tier 4 structure is somehow still up. No stern pyos on the field, by the way, so the only source of repairs would be there's a teammate or a tier 3 structure. KV-2 is gonna move to assist in the engagement here as well. IS-2 pulls up in a close range, gets a good shot off on the Panther right there, bringing it down to about half health. This blob of infantry unleashes a volley of Panzer Shreks at the IS-2, and they pretty much all bounce, and incendiary artillery will force a retreat. Well, that KV-2 shot could be devastating. Oh, okay, shoots at the Panther instead of the blob. Panzer fast will damage the KV-2's engine. There's a very real chance of that being destroyed. It's under AT gun and Panther fire and Panzer Shrek blob fire, and I think it's about to go down. There it goes. KV-2 destroyed by the Panzer Shrek blob. And as an industry player, you really don't want to take that loss. It's so expensive. He does have the fuel, of course, for one more. Manpower's gonna take a little bit of time, though. And this is why you want to float a little bit in the mid/early game as industry if you can, so that you can replace those losses. Manpower is going to be your most precious resource rather than your fuel. Conscripts engaging here in the center against some our Kettenwerfer, I guess. They're just trying to provide vision. Not really anything useful for them to do over here. They're going to reposition to a safer location. Maxim is going to try to turn the engagement against these folks grenadiers. Two grenades tossed. Looks like the engagement could go either way. I don't know. Maxim's falling pretty low. Vet 3 Folks Grenadiers with full health. Maxim retreats. Conscripts will probably also retreat. Fresh Folks Grenadiers move up as well. Madmax should be able to get control of this victory point. Start the clock ticking against the Soviets once again. KV-2 is on its way up the right side to engage against the Puma and Grenadiers. Hopefully this one will do a little bit better than the last one. The last one honestly didn't even really kill much of anything. Might want to try throwing it in artillery mode and firing from range if possible. IS-2 diving straight into AT gun fire. Gets one shot off on that Puma before pulling back for some repairs. Shock troops and conscripts moving up to lead the charge a little more aggressively. KV-2 has been thrown into artillery mode. It's probably going to start firing on targets at range here in the center with vision provided by this conscript squad. Is this inside the minimum range or something? Maybe. Firing at that Puma instead. Guess those Folks Grenadiers must be a little bit too close. Defense gets destroyed, blocking one shot right there. So far all the artillery mode shots pretty much just missed. All shots falling short so far. Soviets have taken control of the center VP right there, and we'll start the clock ticking against the Axis again. Shock troops making their way towards the right side of VP.
Awaiting orders. You need heavy armor support. Our enemy has only 200 points.
Incendiary artillery will try and slow down this blob in the VP. Shock troops take a lot of damage from LMG fire. They're gonna have to retreat right there. Conscripts take a grenade. Again on the wrong side of their cover position. IS-2 fully repaired is moving to assist in this engagement. The KV-2 has left artillery mode, trying to get into slightly closer range for this engagement. Panzer Grenadiers fall low, and that will be forced to retreat. IS-2 shot almost wipes them, but not quite. KV-2 is trying to get shots off across the hedge, but it's being engaged frontally by kind of a lot of stuff. Needs to turn fire on it if possible. Oh wow, that hit didn't do as much damage as I thought it would. That landed right perfectly in the center of that clump, but so far those Focus Grenadiers are holding strong, and it looks like this KV-8 is going to go down. Abandoned. This is the second time a heavy Soviet tank has been abandoned on this battlefield. Hopefully this time the Axis will actually destroy it though. IS-2 meanwhile engaging against him. What happened to this Panther? It has a destroyed engine, his rear armor is exposed. There goes his main gun. That's not good. So much Axis stuff available for this engagement, but the Command Panther will go down regardless. IS-2 does get traded in exchange. The KV-2 is still abandoned right there. Nothing moving to destroy it. I cannot believe how many times Pumas have abandoned Soviet vehicles and then just been like, oh, well, alright. Mission accomplished, and then just bounced. Blow it up! I'm taking shots at that IS-2 from range. Everything pretty much bouncing.
We have a full complement! Scar car reports contact with enemy machine gun standing by.
Fresh KV-8 on the field. Soviet armor forces are currently, I think, about to be a KV-2, which may immediately threaten to be destroyed by that Raketten Warfare if it exposes itself.
Veterancy awarded!
Wow, I can't believe that's getting away. KV-2 recovered, KV-8 on the field, and one IS-2. Other than that, Soviets have no armor remaining. Stinger has a pretty small core of infantry right now. It's all just combat engineers, 2 conscripts and a shock troop squad. Riker has 2 Maxims and 2 cons, so neither Soviet player has a particularly scary infantry-based army. Not that the Axis have that much themselves. 1 squad of Obersoldaten will be able to do pretty good work against that though. A small amount of grenadiers. All infantry forces have been run ragged. Squad will be forced to retreat right there. Over here on the right, Grenadiers and Obersoldaten should be able to push away this shock troop squad. The IS-2 is moving to re-engage over here. KV-8 is about to be fully repaired, and the KV-2 still hasn't received any repairs. Just sitting here in the Soviet base, and he's got to wait forever just to get the manpower together for combat engineers. So even though they just made a miracle recovery of that tank, it's still been off the field for several minutes. KV-8 engaging against these 2 squads should be able to take them out, although a Maxim just got wiped right there, bringing Commander Riker down to only 3 squads of infantry remaining. The IS-2 continues to duke it out over here on the right side, and will go down to Master Pumas and AT gunfire. That is bad news. Although the Axis do only have 150 victory points remaining, they are taking out priority targets left and right. LMG grins get wiped though. Some sort of silver lining, I guess. You may want to consider pulling back for repairs though. That one's falling pretty low. If that 2 Puma, would be kind of a shame to lose that because just sitting there. Both pop smoke and pull back. KV-8 clears an AT gun over here on the left side, forces another Grenadier squad to retreat. A few fresh squads of Ostrupen are being fielded here to try and recruit team weapons, I guess, and Madmax is up to 1,000 manpower. Wow, I can't believe they're struggling this badly for map control, and he's floating 1,000 manpower. Really needs to make some stuff. Doesn't even matter what it is. If he wants to counter as the industry player, make some Raketten Warfers. If he wants to counter shock rifle player, he can make pretty much anything. Volks Grenadiers. More overs. Could be good. Armor-piercing rounds deployed on the machine gun right there. Should be able to force a retreat from those oversoldaten. Throw a bundle grenade, does pretty good damage, but I don't think they're going to win the engagement suppressed. Although Pumas supporting from the back seem to be sufficient to convince that machine gun to retreat. KV-8 is on its way. Those Pumas will do good damage against it though. It needs to be careful. Almost manages to burn that oversoldaten squad down. Not quite though. Was Struppen protecting. AT guns pointed at this road. The KV-8 is destroyed right there, but at least the KV-2 has been fully repaired here in the base. Needs to actually make its way back to the front line though. Panzerschreck, stolen Panzerschreck, and the conscript blob threatens that Puma, which is not pulling to safety, and it looks like it may go down. AT grenade damages the engine. Second squad moving up with the Panzerschreck. Struggling to get in range a little bit though. And just goes down to small arms fire, I think. Meanwhile, over here, another Puma plus Ostrupen are taking control of the cutoff and victory point and are going to try to keep the clock ticking against the Allies if at all possible. Currently, a triple cap is going against the Axis with only 75 points remaining. They cannot afford to wait any longer on getting these victory points captured. Conscripts are continuing to stall and actually win an engagement against this Puma. Another one looks like it's going to go down here, although those conscripts won't seal the deal. They can't afford to stick around any longer. The KV-2 is still sitting in the base. What is it waiting for? Get that thing to the front line. Only 67 points from victory and a very small army that is on its last legs. That KV-2 cannot afford to sit idle in the base. There it goes, finally. Another KV-8 has been fielded towards the right. Both Soviet players having access to the KV-8s is resulting in so many flamethrower tanks this game. The Axis have been doing a pretty good job of managing the threat they pose with Pumas, AT guns, and Raketten workers.
Enemy forces are capturing our supplies.
Oh, that KV-8 going down very quick to anti-tank gunfire. Looks like it may not even survive. Oh, it goes down so fast. Sustained PaK-40 and Raketten Warfare fire destroys yet another KV-8, and Stinger will run out of all armored units. Another Puma is destroyed in the middle by the KV-2, making its way back to the front line, however. And it will activate self-repair briefly. No repair station available over here, and no combat engineers on the field right now either. Two conscript squads here in the base need to reinforce and make their way back to the front line, but the Axis are slowly taking control of this game. Industry, manpower penalty, bleeding him hard. KV-2 has not had much of a dramatic impact, and all shock rifle heavily armored targets have been destroyed. His infantry corps is not particularly impressive, so if the Axis can hold the line that they currently have, they should be able to take control of this game. Turn it back in their favor. I am distressed. I am. Breaks my heart to see units die that don't have to die. Incendiary artillery deployed here in the trench. A few squads will retreat, others will make late reactions. Just Struppen getting melted. LMG Grenadiers get clear of the fire and will start forcing retreats from various team weapons right here. Meanwhile, on the left side, the KV-2 is moved up towards the center victory point to try and protect. There was a mine right there. Shoe mine bleeds those conscripts as they get control of this point, and the half track is going to escort this lone squad of conscripts towards the left side victory point and try to get the clock ticking against the Axis again. They currently have no defenses over here on the center or left, so they're going to have to mobilize something over there to make sure the clock does not start ticking against them if it can be avoided. Only 67 points remaining, they cannot afford to lose victory points. Obersoldaten will defend the right side with flamethrower support against those no! Flamethrower just got wiped by those shock troops not being monitored. One Puma defending in the center. Two squads of Obersoldaten heading right to engage. Oh no, right into a KV-2! Huge hit right there on that Obersoldaten squad. That'll be forced to retreat. Grenade toss from the Volksgrenadiers will try to clear the Maxim, or MG-34, but it's not quite successful. Half-track trying to bleed those Vet 5 Obersoldaten, but it's taking a while. Puma moves up to assist against the KV-2. KV-2 will switch targets to fire on that light vehicle, I think. Must be inside the minimum range because it's not doing anything. There it goes. Pulls back. Misses its shot against that AT gun, I guess. continues trying to get away from that Puma, which is trying to circle straight to death. So far, not having too much success. Conscripts are available here. KV-2 gets a big shot off on that Puma. No AT grenade. Oh wait, there it goes. There it goes. KV-2 just got destroyed though by another Puma shot there from the south and Panzerschreck fire. With the KV-2 down, Riker now has only one freshly fielded KV-8 available to assist in this engagement. He should at least be able to take out a Puma though. But this sheer quantity of Axis infantry in the center point looks like something he may not be able to take on. Two squads of shock troops doing what they can over here on the right side will clear out a Rakettenwerfer and deploy smoke, or no, a frag. They are forced to retreat by the Tier 4 structure and will not be able to apply further pressure to the victory point right there. Axis do have the center point. We'll keep the clock ticking against the Allies for now. KV-8 forcing a retreat from some Volksgrenadiers in the middle. Neither of these squads has a hard counter to that. KV-8 may be forced to retreat here as well. Please don't lose those Vet 5 Obers though. Please don't lose those Vet 5 Obers. Oh my god, retreat. Oh, okay, doesn't even have to. The AT gun wall right there will snipe that KV-8, and Riker is brought down to only 3 conscript squads remaining, which are getting picked up over here on the left side by a fresh Command Panther. Wow. Apparently this game has been that long. 2 Command Panthers fielded now. Now Strupen will move to get control of the clock and other various territories over here on the left side. Meanwhile, Hard Shock Rifle plus Tier 2 continues to do what it can for the right. Mass carnage over here. Banded team weapons, tank wrecks, and an uncontested victory point. Obersoldaten, Volksgrenadiers on their way to try and take back control. A smattering of Soviet team weapons available over here on the right side for the next engagement, while Grenadiers and Ostrupen take control of the left. Brief ceasefire, and a T-34-76 will be fielded by Riker, who is starting to try new things, I guess. Not experiencing that much success with his other doctrinal features, but I honestly would be surprised if he is more successful with a T-34-76 than he was with a KV-8 or a KV-2. But at the same time, he doesn't have the manpower for these. T-34 is the least manpower expensive of those 3 options, so that's something, I guess. Molotov toss right there. Late reaction will force retreats from both of those Ostrupen squads. The AT gun wall set up here in the road will force that T-34 back for repairs, and again there are no repair stations and no combat engineers anywhere on this battlefield. Over here on the right side, shock troops are getting laser beamed down by the Vet 5 Obersoldaten. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to win an engagement there because they're getting suppressed. Trying to kite those overs into that Maxim, I guess. Only 300 points remaining for the Allies, and they must come up with a more unified strategy for taking control of at least 2 victory points simultaneously. Up to this point, it doesn't seem like they have any idea how they're going to be able to do that.
Under effective fire! Enemy HMG!
Pretty sure he's talking about Rakettenwerfers. Rakettenwerfers are apparently too strong. Relic, please nerf Rakettenwerfers. You heard it here first, you guys, on Romeo's stream. Those OP Rakettenwerfers need a nerf. Wow, that Panzerschreck snipe. Grenadiers get sniped over there on the left side. Conscripts are going to make a play for the left side VP and try and get that captured. 2 Pumas moving up on the T-34-76 into a Conscript squad with the Panzerschreck. With this many Pumas is a very serious threat to that T-34, which should probably try and get to safety. Although that Puma might go down. AT grenade, pops smoke to try and get it away. Panzerschreck switches targets to another Puma. These 2 will continue their chase, but T-34 looks like it's going to round that corner and get to safety, maybe. I don't know. He's going in pretty hard. Clearly these Pumas do not give a fuck. They're going in hard on that T-34 and may snipe it. There it goes. 34 down. Wow, really? These AT guns probably were not quite necessary for that engagement. Flamethrower may be able to punish that overextension. This one going down quite quickly. The remaining Puma trying to stick around in engagement against those Panzerschreck conscripts, and is apparently scary enough to convince them to retreat. He really doesn't want to lose that Shrek, and he obviously can't afford to replace any wipes with the Soviet industry manpower penalty. Here on the right side, Soviet player still has failed in every attempt to get control of that right side VP. These Vet 5 overs are just too strong. Flamethrowers are probably a pretty good pick though against Vet 5 overs because they don't have to worry about the received accuracy or anything. Just have to hope for lucky flame crits and win engagements against them that way. And I think he's making the right call by spamming flamethrowers against over Soldaten. He's having difficulty chewing through. Conscripts damage an engine over here on a Puma and will destroy it. So many Pumas have died this game. Wow. So many Pumas. This one has to pull back for repairs with almost no health remaining. Conscripts, or Flamethrower Squad, is taking control of the center victory point and flaming an AT gun to death. Both AT guns dying for no reason at all is a terrible thing to have happen right now. And the Soviets will briefly, somehow, get the clock ticking in their favor again, bringing the axis down to maybe about 60 VPs before the clock is stopped. T-34 fielded towards the left side. Riker apparently has given up on his doctrinal options and is just going to start making T-34 76s. Against Puma spam, maybe that's the logical thing to do. This one's going in on the OS Troop in here in the middle.
Enemy forces capturing supply sector.
We are taking losses!
Molotov toss on those Ostrupen and they're forced to retreat right there. Tree support gun fire on the conscripts. T-34 pulling back, just a sliver of HP remaining. It looks like Pumas are going to give chase. I don't see why he keeps on giving chase, but also with his AT guns. Another abandoned tank, that's 3. 3 abandoned Soviet tanks in one game. I guess over the course of a 47-minute game, that's still actually highly unlikely. I can't believe how many times the Soviets have gotten out of jail for free because of abandonments that the Axis have just not even punished. I'm gonna guess that that T-34 is still abandoned over here. Yep. Pumas are like T-34 abandoned. Mission accomplished. Let's get out of here. Let's bring it on home. Maybe that's actually next level strategic thinking because he's against industries. Like, if he even tries to crew that T-34, that's 3 models. He has to sacrifice 3 conscript models to recruit that T-34. That's manpower bleed. And he'll have to pull it all the way back to his base for repairs on combat engineers. And no, he can't afford to be having that pop cap drain. He's playing that manpower game. Playing that next level manpower strategic game. Shock troops moving up over here on the right side, trying to get control of this fuel point. Grenade toss for bundle grenade from the Panzer Grenadiers wipes the squad. Soviet team weapons here in the back trying to bleed these forces, but thus far not having all that much success. Riker has only 4 squads remaining and no vehicles again as he waits for his manpower to tick up for maybe another T-34s. Yep, that's what he's going to do. Another T-34. Just keeps cranking them out. He is slowly getting outproduced by these mobile defense Puma spam though. Ooh, that wasn't good. Panzer Grenadiers almost get wiped right there. Will be forced to retreat. Ostrupen are apparently just charging into this Maxim. I don't even know what their objective is here, but clearly they did not accomplish it. Will be forced to retreat out of that engagement. There is 2 KV-8s here. Apparently they're just spamming KV-8s. KV-8 spam against Puma spam doesn't seem like that could possibly work out very well, but he just wants to get that victory point, I guess. Conscripts engaging against Pios here in the middle. Molotov toss on the Vet 5 over, just gets a crit. The other 2 squads right there, they're going to have to retreat. Incendiary artillery falling in the area will get dodged. Everything should be fine. Folks Grenadiers should be able to keep the clock stopped here in the middle. There's also a machine gun available to recover to maybe provide a little more protection here. Pretty much up to the shock rifle player to carry this game. He might want to consider rotating left and center, helping his teammate. Obviously the defenses in this area are much lighter than the position he keeps having to smash his forces against. Soviet industry just has no manpower left at this stage of the game. There's not really a whole lot that he's able to do. Wow, that flame burst though. Fortunately, thanks to the power of flame crits, he's still able to pick up wipes on overextended squads over here on the left. Command Panther plus Puma spam. Puma Blob moving up on the T-34 right there. Frangible grenade tossed by those Obers, and then they retreat through their own smoke. Just took a lot of damage right there. Wow, this is a pretty big force of Soviet tanks, but they all have flamethrowers out against Pumas. They switched to the other pea shooter mid-combat, taking a huge spread of damage. I feel like the Axis vehicles are pulling ahead in this engagement significantly, although the Allies will inflict the first loss. Puma goes down. More shots on this KV-8 bouncing. Command Panther takes a long shot at that KV-8 in the back and will destroy it. This T-34 has fallen to about half. Both Pumas at slightly above half. T-34 looks like it's going to go down right there, and it will be destroyed. Meanwhile, Ostrupen are like maybe going to recover that T-34, which is still just sitting there. Are T-34s that bad that even Ostrupen are not a worthy trade? Apparently. That Puma continues to charge into close range despite being at quite low health, and it looks like it will be destroyed. Gets a lucky main gun crit, so it will last a little longer, but all KV-8s taken out. The T-34 taken out. This T-34 still abandoned on the front line. There's a field gun moving up into this, or Raketenwerfer rather, and stolen Panzer Shrek, plus lots of AT grenades damaging various Axis vehicle engines. Conscripts are attempting to get control of the center victory point, but there is no hope on the right, no hope on the left, and the clock will not be ticking against the Axis at any point during this engagement. We'll get out of that having suffered a few Puma losses, but the Command Panther is still alive, and a fresh Panther has made its way onto the field. Ooh, big hit from the infantry support gun there. Weakens this push, but not significantly enough to make a difference. Only one squad of Ostrupen defending, and it looks like the Allies may get the clock briefly ticking against the Axis here, while all forces are pulled off the field for reinforcement and repairs. 52 minutes in, and the Allies continue to struggle just to get the last 53 points off the board. With two Panthers on the field, these vetted Obersoldaten running around. Industry inflicting this huge manpower drain, and Shock Rifle not having a whole lot more success. Not entirely sure this game will be recoverable for the Allies, but they do continually seem to be able to manage just the tiniest little bit of victory point control, knock just a few more VPs down, maybe get a little bit closer to victory. That Panther might die. That Panther just went in without support into a Panzer Shrek, AT grenades, and a Raketenwerfer. These squads are going to chase, but while they're chasing, they will not be capturing the left side VP. And there is at least soaking up their time a little bit there on the left side. Obersoldaten taking control of the middle here, and these squads over here on the right getting ready for another push for the right side. It's going to be kind of a feeble push, though. Just 2 team weapons and 3 squads of infantry. Fortunately, the Obers are all tied up in the left, so they actually might be able to get that victory point captured. The Panther continues to kite away from all anti-tank weapons over here. Raketenwerfer has to retreat. Conscripts have to retreat. That victory point will go back into Axis hands. Mortar plus shock troops on the AT gun over here. No reaction to the grenade. That's probably going to get wiped.
Enemy flanking us!
And these squads will move up to take control of the right side victory point, but again, the Allies have to time their pushes a little bit better with each other so that they're harassing victory points simultaneously and their opponents just can't rotate from point to point, dealing with threats one at a time. Not that the industry player has that much to offer at this stage of the game, only down to just 5 squads. Apparently he spent a ton of manpower on a field gun, bringing him up to 400 fuel now. He doesn't feel that any of the things he can spend fuel on are worth the manpower he has to spend on it. He'd rather have a field gun at this point, I guess, than any core tier 3 or either of his call-ins.
Our territory is falling into enemy hands. The enemy has cut off a sector.
2 squads of conscripts heading left to engage against these Obers. A little Uran to close range against them. Should be able to win that. Meanwhile, over here, high explosive barrage from the field gun on this squad. Oh no! Oh, the Vet 5 squad just died! Oh my god, that hero high explosive barrage and the Vet 5 Oversoldat get wiped. I can't believe that just happened. By the way, is somebody gonna crew this? Come on, this is just... There's a tank sitting there. Does anybody care? There's an abandoned tank sitting there, and like, really? Normally I hound players for not crewing team weapons, but I mean, whatever. At this point of a game, there's so many AT weapons sitting, or team weapons sitting around. Crewing them all would probably be impossible. Although, that many wouldn't have accrued in the first place if they would, like, do their due diligence and capture them when they become available, make an actual effort. But this is so egregiously ridiculous, I just can't understand how anybody could just be like, nah, I don't want it. That's not worth the 60 manpower it would cost me to reinforce my conscripts. That's not worth the 55 or whatever it would cost me to reinforce my Ostrupen. Big push moving up the right side right here. Shock troops and flamethrower. Command tank, 2 Pumas, 2 Panthers available for this. Those Soviet forces are not going to break through that huge armored force. The Axis have actually pulled ahead. They have a double cap going against the Allies. 38 points remaining to the Axis 53, and it doesn't look like anything is going to be able to stop this huge armored force. But conscripts are moving up the left to get control of the VP right there. There's nothing to counter over here on the left. Conscripts have recovered an MG34. Might be maybe able to throw up some green cover here in the center VP. Try and get the clock ticking against the Axis here. 2 field guns deployed into this engagement, trying to maybe do damage to these various units. 2 shots connect with the Command Panther right there before this one is cleared. And these vehicles are going to move around the flank of the remaining field gun to try and get that cleaned up. Green cover is being constructed here by these conscripts, where they will try to hold the line against any Axis counterattack. With all Obersoldaten pretty much dead except for this squad, infantry forces are so thin right now, but there are 2 Panthers on the field. Only 1 Obersoldaten squad remaining for Madmax, and Shakal has various crap. Conscripts with an LMG-34, an MG-42, and a KV-8 defending the center here. Maybe a little bit much for Axis infantry forces to take on. They will definitely need support from the Panthers, and with only 50 points remaining, the clock has started ticking against the Axis again here. KV-8 is taking damage. Retreat! Oh my god, I just sat there and died to a huge AT wall of Pumas, Panthers, and AT guns. LMG conscripts trying to hold the line in their green cover position against these Obers will bleed them as they advance, and they get suppressed by the MG-42 in the back. Raketenwerfer takes a shot at the Panther, which will fall quite low and be forced to retreat. Obers are suiciding themselves in this engagement. I think they're going to go down. Incendiary artillery being dropped on the Pios right there. Puma and infantry forces desperately trying to push everything out. The LMG-equipped conscripts will get wiped right there. Obersoldaten retreating through the flames might get wiped. Ostrupen charging through the flames to try and get this point under control. High explosive barrage from the AT gun right there will be cancelled after inflicting major damage on those 2 squads. All these infantry just walked through fire to try and get to the victory point, but the Raketenwerfer is delaying capture, and the MG-42 could seriously wipe all of those heavily wounded squads. Panther on the flank is desperately trying to get that machine gun cleared, but it's busy trying to kite away from Panzerschreck-equipped conscripts right there. The clock is still ticking against the Axis, and the points have pulled even again. 28 to 26 right now. A double cap going against the Axis, and there's a successful harassment attempt on the right side right now. Flamethrower squad sets up a triple cap. I don't know if the Axis are going to win this. It doesn't look like they're going to. 18 points left. Something has to stop the victory point drain somewhere. Infantry support gun is desperately being maneuvered into the center of capture circle. Panzerschreck squad taking control of the left. Only 9 points left though. 6. Is this really game? 3. They white the left side point. 1 victory point. White the center, but it's not enough. And it's an exactly 1 hour long game. The Allies pull it off with a miracle final mega climactic engagement there for the center victory point with 28 VPs left. Somehow they pull off that victory. Wow. Good game. Allies win.